Hey there, Michael here from Beer Baseball Blog, The Adventures of Craft Beer and Baseball. This is the Beer Baseball Blog interview series where we honor craft beer, baseball, graphic design, pop culture, and the talented people behind it. My guest today is from San Jose, California. He is the owner and operator of Pro Wrestling Revolution and has worked with some of the biggest names in professional wrestling and Lucha Libre from Japan, Mexico, U.S., and the world. He is my longtime friend, Gabriel Ramirez. How are you today, Gabe?
My brother, that's a huge intro. I'm blessed. That right there can be the whole entire podcast, and I'm done. Thank you.
All right, so let's roll up the credits, and we are done.
Thank you. Yes.
That's a wrap.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're one of my longtime friends. For those who don't know, I used to be in professional wrestling in the late 90s and 2000s. And Gabe was one of the first people that I met working for All Pro Wrestling in Hayward, California for Roland and Alexander. Yep. And what was your capacity in All Pro Wrestling at that time?
Well, that job is now extinct because I was the official customer VHS tape dubber. Wow. So if a client ordered a show from whatever city, Roland had those numbered, and he would give them to me. And so I get an email saying customer Michael ordered Terra Nova, Sizzle, or Pacifica, whatever. And I'd get it and master 2 VHSs, dub. And that was my job. And then from there, that was my foot in the door, because those who are part of our industry understand that, like everything else in life, you got to get your foot in the door. And so I started as tape dubber, helping with the ring, setting up the ring, driving wrestlers, picking up wrestlers, everything like a small startup. You have to wear an immense amount of hats in order to make it work. And that's what I did.
Yeah, and startup is a really great analogy for it all, because there's low budgets. You have to, do it, every week, and then there's work during the week, and a lot of thankless jobs that you have to do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If, I remember, having to choose between birthday parties, going to a club, with your friends going, hey, we're going to go to a club. You ready to go? We'll be there about so-and-so. I'm like, there's going to be a show in Hayward. What? Are you still going to that? Yeah. I was like, yeah, it's a big payoff show or something. But I think at that time, I didn't know how to explain it, but I had been bitten by that wrestling bug that we all get bitten by, and I haven't got rid of it since. My first exposure to independent wrestling was November 23rd, 1996, and that's it. I'm here now with you.
Yeah, and I went to my first WWF show in 1985. It was Hulk Hogan, Iron Sheik. It was a celebration of a year of Hogan's reign. I saw Dick Murdoch and Adrian Adonis versus the Briscoe brothers. It was a magical time. And I still have the flyer from that. And to have a handheld phone camera at that time, right? Oh my God. I know. I wish I could just play the memories in my head.
Right? Just amazing. Sit there and be like, excuse me, sir, can you sit down? I got to get Bruiser Brody and I got to get these guys on camera.
Totally.
Where now we all watch the same footage on YouTube now, but could you imagine to have that opportunity then?
Well, and to think that one day that I would do that, and which is even more mind-blowing. So when you cross that threshold of it, and coming up to the Gym Wars at that time, it was a magical time. It was right after the movie had come out. And
Beyond the Mat?
Beyond the Mat. And so it was a magical place already, but then to wrestle there, it was phenomenal. And to meet someone like yourself, it was it made it all worth it.
I remember bumping into you at the merch table.
That's right. I was running the merch table, Blitzkrieg and
Dragon Yakuza.
Hellblazer, and American Wild Child. I mean, I was running the merch table at that time. And Vic Grimes turned it over.
Yes. He actually, I remember you trying to scrambling to pick stuff up, and I was like, oh, Vic. He's like, who is that? I go, that's one of the boys from LA. He's like, oh, I didn't know. My bad. He's like,
no. We actually joked about that when I wrestled in XPW.
Okay.
He actually remembered turning over my merch table. I go, yeah, that was me. And he laughed at that.
Well, I'm surprised Vic remembered anything, because that guy took so many bumps that should have never been taken, that the fact that he remembered his name is I guess, a high five in that effort.
Well, we always marveled at his memory. Actually, he actually remembered a lot of stuff. So, crazy wrestling. But how did you first become a fan of pro wrestling, and then what inspired you to make it a career?
You know, I was 4 to 5 years old, and there was it wasn't Lucha Libre, but it was professional wrestling at the San Jose Civic Auditorium. So it was run by Roy Shires of the NWA. That was his territory. And so the only reason we went is because my dad had come across some form of marketing that told him there was going to be Lucha Libre there. So I don't know if it was going to be Mil Máscaras or Huracán Ramirez, Chavo Guerrero. It was someone of that nature that caught his attention that he wanted to go. So we went, and it wasn't just a small affair. It was like myself, my mother, my father, my tia, my tío, the primos. It was like everyone hopped in, in a bunch of station wagons, and we hit over to the San Jose Civic Auditorium. And at first, it was like, is this boxing? What is this? I didn't know what it was. And I watched the guys wrestle, and it was definitely intriguing, but not until I saw the luchador with, the trunks, the tights, the cape, the mask. And you're like, whoa, what the? And that's when that bit me to keep watching what was the rest of the wrestling show. And we were going there once a week on Tuesdays, and then it switched to Thursdays. And once in a great blue moon, it was like Tuesday and Thursday, if they had like a big angle and so on. And we were there. It was something that I watched, and I couldn't get enough of it. I couldn't get enough. And I actually got to do something very cool that I tell all my students now, because I did it and I didn't think it was a big deal then, but now it's like, wow. If you've ever been to Civic Auditorium, they have an entrance for the heels and the babies on opposite corners, right? And very often, one of the boys, like they do now, instead of peeking through the curtain, they were sitting on the step watching the match. And there was one time Andre the Giant was sitting there. And I was like, oh, who the heck is that guy? So I walked over there, and I was terrified. I mean, he was just huge, huge, huge. And the first thing he did, he goes, come here. And I was like, oh, no. No. And he goes, come here. And I was like, no. And he put his hand out. And he asked me to put my hand, in his hand. And I was like putting my thumb in a palm. And it was huge, huge. And I was just like, wow. So then he bends down and he puts his afro down. And he asked me to hold on to his afro. And he pulled me up a little bit and then let me down.
Wow.
Freaked me out. Wow. And I was like, nah, never going over there again. And now I'm like, oh, my God. Like, that was just, what I mean? To talk about someone of what a mark of he's left on this industry. I understand, Hogan and what have you, but all the people that made Hogan, on the opposite side, and Andre being one of them, who completely gave up, passed the torch per se, and to be able to hold on to his afro, come on. I mean, how many kids can tell you? And I remember going to kindergarten and asking kids, hey, do you know who Andre the Giant is? No. And I actually made a friend because his name was Andre. Oh, and I was like, I got to be friend with that guy. His name is Andre, like Andre the Giant. You know what I mean? In kindergarten. Wow. You know what I mean? So that's how far it goes back with me.
Yeah, that's that bigger than life kind of persona that I feel like it's not as prominent today in today's wrestling, no. But easily could be if the right way of handling some of these stars could be, in the age of social media where everybody's accessible and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's the overexposure. It's the overexposure, I mean, to get to meet Andre was one deal. Now you can pay someone $10 a month and they'll do your voicemail, your vlog, your email signature, whatever. But then this is a point in time where, if you found out where the hotel was at, it was money. You get to hang out with somebody. Or if you saw them loading the car and they shoot out, you're like, oh, I know who that was. Now it's, they vlog themselves walking in, and it's just a different time. And for me, that era in all sports, it's gone, from baseball to everything. It's social media definitely changed how we do life period.
Yeah.
You know, but speaking of sports and wrestling and everything we do, it has its pros and cons. And for me, I don't think I'll ever be able to hang on to Andre's afro virtually through a podcast. You know what I mean? But it's something that holds very true to me that I'll never forget.
Yeah, and Tully Blanchard wouldn't tweet to Magnum TA, great match,
Right?
bro. Great match,
Yeah.
bro. You know, so it's like, you know, that magic is
or Nikita Koloff. Nikita Koloff speaking great English, and you know what I mean? And just all these guys who were Russians and in one territory, there were cowboys in different territory, and now they're tweeting each other, "Hey, bro, I'll see you at Applebee's." You know?
Yeah. So like,
it doesn't make sense.
So like, you've worked with some of the biggest names out there: Elijo Del Santo, Jushin Liger, Ultimo Dragon.
Yes.
Who are some of the other names people would recognize?
Oh man, from Japan, you know, I worked with Jushin Liger on a few occasions. I've worked with great friend of mine, huge. You know, I looked up to him, huge, watching wrestling in the early days. But now he's like one of my better friends. Is Ultimo Dragon, you know, Tajiri. Yeah. And then I had the very opportunity. It was huge and rare opportunity, and now it'll never happen again. But I got the chance to bring All Japan, you know, at that point, mainstay and president, what have you, was Jun Akiyama.
Right.
And so I brought Jun Akiyama to the States for the first time to wrestle on American soil ever. And we also got to do tryouts with him. And I got to spend like 3-4 days with him, just sightseeing, you know, going to my academy with my students, and he was, you know, hitting the ropes and getting to talk wrestling. It you know, I mean, I still sit there as a young kid with Vinny Massaro watching All Japan Pro Wrestling and getting to see Misawa, Kawada, Kabashi, and a very young Akiyama. You know what I mean? And now I'm sitting next to him, and we're having drinks and toasting and telling me stories that he remembers as him as a kid. And you know, Japan wise, that's huge. And then Ultimo Dragon, I've become such great friends with him. I actually gone to Dragomania in Mexico City at Arena Mexico. Helped him backstage with that. Helped him book talent. I actually did the poster for Dragomania, which I got to combine one of my huge loves, which is graphic design and Lucha Libre together. You know, on Blue Demon Jr. You know, I've been worked with him since 2009. He at one point actually was part owner of Revolution at one point. I worked with so many, Máscara Sagrada, Carístico, Dragon Lee, Shocker. You know what I mean? So many people, Rey Bucanero, and one of my best friends now is so underrated, Lady Apache, who by far is one of the most outstanding female wrestlers ever. And the thing being that she's so humble is why she doesn't get the praise, because sometimes you got to toot your own horn in this business. But she's so humble. She's just great. And lucha wise, you know, I've met so many people that have been a huge influence throughout my career. But now at a point where I actually can call them friends. And for wrestlers, you know, you say, you know, you want to make your heroes become your peers. Well, as a promoter, I got to make, you know, my idols and so on, got to make them become, you know, coworkers or in the long term, you know, friends.
Yeah, for as many good things as wrestling gave me, it gave me equally bad things as well. But in the long run, the relationships that I made, like I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for wrestling. I wouldn't know a lot of my friends. But even though I'm out of wrestling now, like we still keep up a lot of friendship just because of our friendship.
It's that brotherhood, right? It's that brotherhood that everyone talks about. And I know it's a big joke and it's like, hey brother. But, you know, that brotherhood is, you know, for my wedding, you know, almost, I think besides two friends, almost everyone in my wedding were people from the business that I held close to. You know, Robert Thompson, you know, the Brown Bomber here in the Bay Area, he's the godfather to both my daughters.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Even though I'm not a godfather to his son, you know, that's a different story, you know, different story, different day, you know what I mean? But he is a godfather to both my daughters, and I trust him dearly. I wasn't his wedding. He was in mine. It's just, you know, it's something that, you know, it's that bond you share with somebody, you know, because you got to remember, I mean, as kids, I'm speaking for myself, you know, no one watched wrestling, you know, and when you watched it, it was still no longer is a niche product, but it was very niche back then.
Yeah.
And in high school, God forbid you watch wrestling because you're a nerd or you're a weirdo, or you read comic books, and you know it's wrong.
Yeah.
And eventually you stop watching it because of peer pressure. You know what I mean? And I'm a fault of that as well. I stopped watching it because your friends made fun of you, or they couldn't believe you were paying, you know, $40-$50 for WrestleMania. And for me, I was like, that's my Super Bowl.
Right.
Are you kidding? You know, Thanksgiving, yes, all the family is sitting down, but for me, it's like Survivor Series. Are you serious? No one's going to bother me. I got the TV to myself. I mean, that to me is a bond that when you share with a friend, that I think if you ask almost anyone in this industry, they all have a story like that of a friend, an uncle, a grandfather who loved the same sport you did, from baseball to football to soccer to wrestling, that catapult you to have a bigger passion per se for that industry.
Yeah, they all think that you're going to outgrow it at some point, and you just never do.
No.
Never.
Sometimes I wish I have. I'm sure you did as well, but there's many times I ask myself, man, this is it. I'm not doing it no more. This is my last year, or this is my last show. And then something really cool happens. You're like, well, one more.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're there 20 plus years going, whoa, what happened?
It's like gambling. Like just when you thought you've lost everything and a new opportunity comes up and you're like,
you can't walk away because that next could be that 777, man. And if you walk away and you watch someone hit it, you'll never forgive yourself.
Yeah. I used to say a little thing to myself before I went out for every match, which was, you fought to do this, you trained to do this, and this is something you've wanted to do your whole life. So go out there and make it the best you can. And Absolutely. I had to remind myself of that a lot.
Unfortunately, we're in a thankless position as indie promoters and indie wrestlers that we have to be our biggest cheerleaders, because if we're not, it's a very lonely sport. It is so lonely.
So you were talking about graphic design before. Your branding, your video graphics, your overall graphic design for your company is one of the best out there. Do you do the graphic design? And how did you arrive to your very distinct style?
Well, it's funny you bring that up. In high school, I always was into wanting to do something more than going to school. I wanted to use, friends and friendships to do more. And we threw a party, and I wanted to do a flyer for it. And I came across some guys who were doing, it wasn't tagging, but it was like in between anime and street design. You know what I mean? It was that different culture, with the paisley shirts and so on. It's a very, very early design, street. And you did stencil where you had no fonts. You had a big stencil sheet, big manila folder, and you get them out and you scrape off your letters and so on. And that blew me away, how you can make people look at a flyer. And the same way you hold a microphone and you control a whole, you're the master of the ceremonies, how a flyer can make people go, I want to go to that. Mm-hmm. And that power you can have, I was like, hey, that's really cool. So that started my brain, but not until I actually saw a design college, advertised in the sports section. I was like, And I was at a job where I was blue collar, and I was like, man, I already had hurt my back once, and I went into it. But once I was there, I came across a independent wrestling company. You might have heard of it. It was called Rev Pro. And the graphics that guy did there always inspired me. It was a style that I wasn't used to, because you're always used to a corporate look and feel. And I saw a font use, a color use. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. If you ever meet that guy, let me know. But he was a huge inspiration, graphically, on what I wanted to do with my graphics.
Well, you've been very nice about this, and for those who don't know who he's talking about me. I actually, It's weird how that all worked out. But thank you for that, Gabe, and you've been very nice in saying that in other places as well. And
yes.
That was actually my foot into pro wrestling, was with Revolution Pro in Anaheim, California, with Ron Rivera. And one of the things that I tried to do is really my what I gave back to wrestling was that to train, I would actually give up my graphic design, and I would design the flyers. I would design the covers. And you were talking about VHS earlier. It was like they were doing dubbing, and they actually had a company called Rudos Entertainment.
Yes.
So I did all the covers for that, and I did a lot of the video graphics. And I did the website at the time when, people were, that was actually pretty novel to actually be able to develop a website.
And you were going against the grain because a lot of the designs back then, it was like, no, you can't make the whole website an image. It has to be block, 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 block. That's how you were being taught. That's what I went for web design. And it was like, no. You have this header, title, block, sub. And then I go to your site and it's like one giant JPEG. And I'm like, oh, he's making it work. He's making it work. And I was like, man. And so I wanted to find out, how are you making it load so fast? Like, how are you doing it? And then later I found out you had like so many cut up images, and some were sliced up, high res, low res, and some were just wallpaper repeating. I was like, this guy's, that's what I wanted to do for APW. You know what I mean? But it wasn't going to happen because we had, an incredible, web person in Jason Dedrich, who actually worked for LucasArts, who was their webmaster. And so I couldn't go to him and I go, hey, look at this. He goes, yeah, it's cool, but look, the load time's wrong. And I'm like, yeah, but do you see the impact of that design? Ours is very, one logo, and everything was just text. And I was like, no, that's not wrestling. I want to see that, But I never was able to change APW side, but when it came to me starting to go to college for it and design, I always went back to the wrestling style for me, the culture that you had started, at least started for me in my vision with Rev Pro. Obviously, Jason's design skills for LucasArts inspired me to handle my corporate look, for other people. But when it came to Lucha Libre and what I do, it was always, going back to what I saw at Rev Pro.
Well, thank you for that. And it was like, we were punk rock. It was like, we were out of a garage in Anaheim, California. So I always wanted to make it like, I wanted to at least appear in graphics that it was bigger than life. Like it was like
Absolutely.
The Tokyo Dome.
You have to.
And then it carried over to when I for those who don't know of this blogcast or this podcast, is that I started a Pro Wrestling Guerrilla with 5 other guys, and it carried over there. So it's like it was starting basically doing the graphics for that, and really for a promotion that at the time there was UPW, which was WWF affiliated or WWE affiliated at the time. Yeah. New Japan Pro Wrestling, which had a lot of money behind it. We were like not even seen as people that could do something, but we just kept on going and kept on being creative and doing other things. But the graphics were always the basis of that. And
the graphic, the logo alone was insane. Like you guys were so against the grain of what wrestling was supposed to be. It was always supposed to be something wrestling. Whether it was Northern California, Southern California, the state, the territory, something wrestling. Yes. And you guys went pro wrestling and threw a freaking gorilla on your logo. And I was like, because I remember Super Dragon doing a show for us in King City, and he wanted to book Jardy France and Bobby Quantz for that show. And he says, is it cool? I'm like, yeah, I don't see why not. I go, who's it for? He's we're doing our own show. We're just a bunch of us want to just put our own shows on. And I was like, okay, and then here comes Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and I'm like, Gorilla? Yeah. Why would they call it a gorilla? And Super Dragon's like, because we're gonna maul everybody. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever, right? And your logo, you guys didn't stay with one color. You guys went against the grain and changed your color, which is in a corporate branding world, that's a huge no-no. You can't change your color. You stay with one color until like 40 years later, you change it again. Yeah. Now you guys were changing it, and I was like, man, it's Rev Pro all over again. You guys were doing it your own way, your own style, and nothing, everything, with hard work eventually pays off, and you guys all worked hard at it, and it blossomed into what it is now.
Yeah, and I left in 2007, but like one of my legacies is that logo still lives on, and it's one of the iconic parts of PWG.
It could never change. I hope it never does. That's just, that gorilla says it all.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. So your promotion has ties with major and minor league baseball. What are some of the teams that you've worked with?
Okay, that's very cool because I always talk about how graphic design, was cool, to do it. But when I got the opportunity to do baseball and lucha libre or pro wrestling, come on, I was approached by the San Francisco Giants who wanted to do Lucille Bobblehead Day. And so they invited me to come to the stadium, and I was to this day, brother, I still have the free parking pass that they gave me. I have that in my car, stuck on forever. I don't care whatever happens. I have my lanyard where I was allowed to enter through parking, through security, and when I walked in, I got to see the '87 trophy for National League champs, where unfortunately Jose Oquendo and Ozzie Smith, and to this day it kills me.
And the Wizard.
No, dude, that kills me to this day, I swear. And I got to go in there, and I sat around all these people, and I didn't know who they were, but it was all kinds of ref from marketing and to Latino marketing, radio, all these things they had planned for their Lucio Bobblehead Day, but they wanted to make it a luchador. And the thing is that Lucille is a huge wrestling fan. Huge. Oh, wow. And if you look around for Lucille on YouTube, he actually has an NWA replica that he wears to some of the games. You know what I mean? So he will look, man. He goes, we seen your show that you did so-and-so. And I worked with a company called El Mensajero, who is now defunct, and they were part of the Giants media team. And so I had done a show with them, and they had run an article about Lucha and myself coming to Latino Heritage Day in Oakland, and the Giants saw that, and they had like a booth, and they were giving away, tchotchkes and so on. So they called me in, and they said, "Hey, would you be interested in setting up your ring and having like a luchador, Lucille Day and da-da-da?" And I was like, "What? You want me to set up my ring? Yeah, and we'll pay you. And you're going to pay me?"
Wow.
I was like, I was going to do this for free. I was like, are you serious? And so Lucille had these ideas. So then I said, well, what would be really cool? And looking back, I can't believe I even opened my mouth. I should have just kept shut, because that's what we're taught in wrestling, right? Just listen and say yes, no, and so on. And the Giants were asking, they were having a marketing idea. So how can we push this? And how can we, okay, we'll do radio, we'll do all these things. And they were sitting there, and I was like, I got to say it, because if I don't say it, I'm going to hate myself. I said, hey, is it okay if I say something? They're like, sure, no, go ahead. You're a big part of this. I said, wouldn't it be cool if we can get a bunch of mascots and had a battle royal?
Oh, that's awesome.
They're like, can we do that? And I was like, yeah, why not? Lucille says, I got it. At that point in time, Lucille was one of the guys who directed all the mascots to go to all other areas to do things. The only person that's not a part of that clique per se is Sharky from the San Jose Sharks. But everybody else has their, they have like a little, like the NWA, they have a little territory. And lo and behold, there we were, man. We actually did with Nick Aragon. I don't know if you ever came across Nick. Oh, yeah, you worked with Nick, yeah. So Nick shot this, and we did the Philly Fanatic being beat up in a training session with Lucille at my old academy, and they actually played that on the overhead, on the big screen. We actually set up the ring at Lefty Old Do Bridge. We had the ring. We had a little bit of a show, a couple matches. Mm-hmm. And here come all the mascots from, Giantzilla. We even had the crab, the giant, the much maligned, San Francisco. Yeah, the crab, and the crab was out there, and Papa Seal, Little Seal, San Jose Giants mascot. We had a Philly Fanatic. We even had Stomper, the A's mascot, out there. And to me, I was like, it'll never get better than this, man. You know. And then after the thing's over, we put the ring away, and then we got to go sit in special seats and hang out and watch baseball. And then as we're watching baseball, there comes us, on the Giantron or whatever you want to call it these days, and it's this huge screen, and they're showing our guys wrestling, the mascot, the training. It's just it was in 2010. I actually take credit for the Giants winning the World Series that year because it was, it was something different that we catapulted that season, and matter of fact, I actually got an email one time from Lucille. They actually would play Lucille attacking the Philly Fanatic for rallies. So they would play that portion at Giants games when they were low, or top of the seventh, bottom of the seventh, or down by a run or whatever it was. They would use that as a come on Giants, your rally cry. And I'm like, what? You gotta be kidding me. This is something that was just a spark, something I wanted to do. And now it's slowly catapulting, into something huge. One thing, before I forget, I always forget to mention this, but I actually got to do a half an inning on play-by-play, color or play-by-play interview on the Giants Spanish station, the Giants against the Phillies.
Wow, and what a thrill that is.
Brother, it was the day that, what was his name? Is it Ryan Howard who signed that huge contract with the Phillies?
Yeah.
It was the same day because I remember Tito Puentes going, "No puedo creer que tanto dinero a este Ryan Howard," and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh, they signed him for like millions and millions," and literally he hit a soft ground ball to second, and he didn't run the ball out, and he threw the ball, and Tito Puentes flipped out. Like, how could you not run it out? And you have all those millions. When I was playing, I was getting paid peanuts, and I ran every ground ball out, and this guy made millions. And I'm sitting there with Tito Puentes on one side and Ernesto on the other, and then they'll go, "Oh, so we're doing a mascot battle royal. You do Lucha Libre. Tell me." And I don't know what to say. I'm in a media booth with the Giants. I got Tito Fuentes, who is an icon in my culture because Spanish radio, that's how my parents got to listen to baseball. And, we're sitting there and they're asking me about Lucha and how it combines with the Giants. And on my left-hand side is Tito Fuentes, and I hear, he was choking. I'm like, what the hell? He was eating a cookie and he started choking on it. And I'm like, hey, this guy's choking. He's like, he's okay. And he's like, and then someone comes from behind, gives him a big whack, and he's like, "Ya son 3 outs aquí en el segundo la entrada." And I'm like, I was being ripped. That had to be. I'm panicking that Tito Puente is going to choke and die on my radio, my only radio opportunity I'm going to ever have in my life, and then I'm going to be maligned because Tito Puentes choked on a cookie, in that inning, but. It's like that to me was how. I mean, you're a baseball fan, you're a wrestling fan, Lucha Libre, and you're combining them. I mean, like, and you're doing radio, you're doing TV, you're doing commercials. You're rubbing shoulders. You're in the offices where you see the trophies, you see Willie Mays, stuff, and come on, it's like, how could that get any better?
That's fantastic. And you almost saw Tito's last broadcast as well.
That would have been not cool, man. I was so terrified. I was so terrified.
That's scary. I bet. And you've done stuff for the Visalia Rawhide,
yes,
and Oakland, and
Athletics, yes,
yeah, and so I can imagine Stomper being in that battle royal is a great heel hit, a great heel heat.
Okay, this is interesting. You bring that up. Okay, so, well, I've also, before I forget, I also done stuff with the Tri-City Dust Devils.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. They're affiliate of the Padres, I believe. And that team is also the owner. That owner also owns the Rancho Cucamonga Dodgers. Okay, so in that battle royal with Lucille, it's almost like a booking. I can't make this up. I remember telling these guys, hey, don't jump off the ropes. It is the most dangerous thing in the wrestling ring where you don't know how to use them. The ropes will hurt you if you run them incorrectly, or they can throw you out of a ring, or they can catapult you to the mat, and it hurts. It's not this big canvas you guys think.
Yeah.
Well, we're at practice, and Lucille gets up on the top rope and starts just doing his Hulk Hogan stuff and Ultimate Warrior on the ropes, and Stomper, because it's Oakland A's, I guess his ego went there as well, and just like I said, goes to the top rope, foot slips, pushed him out, took an eliminator backwards schoolboy from the top to the bottom. Whoa. Knocked him out. Okay, so when we do the mascot battle royal that day, it was another person in the Stomper, outfit, and I didn't know that. We finished that 2 years later. The Oakland A's hit me up because I was also doing stuff for the Sounds of the Earthquakes for MLS, and so again, MLS, the owners also owned Earthquakes and the Oakland A's. So when the owners were out there, they saw me doing stuff with the Earthquakes. They're like, oh, we got to do it with the A's because, again, Latino Heritage Month, we're going to do it. So they called me and said, would you like to do it? And I was like, oh, no. We know who you are. And you've done stuff with the Giants and you've done stuff with, MLS. Can you meet with us? Awesome. So I get there, same thing. But I'm a Giants fan, so it was rough for me to go over the A's and walk in. And so I walk in to where I had to have my meeting, so I'm in the waiting room. And there is the 1989 World Series trophy. And for me, just like the 87 thing killed me with the Cardinals, that 89 with the Earthquake and the A's pitching Stewart and Welch back-to-back and that going 1, 2, 3, 4 in the rotation killed me. Yeah. So I stood up and I looked at the trophy and I go, oh, that's 89. She goes, oh yeah, it's our World Series year. We swept the Giants. And I was like, yeah, there should be an asterisk on your trophy. She says, excuse me? I said, come on, man. Roger Craig, he went 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys went 1, 2, 1, 2. And I was like, man, again, why did I say that? Why did I say that? So we're in there. And they said, look, this is what we want to do, real similar to the Giants, except Lucille, we want to focus on Latino Heritage Day. It was, I think we had something with Cespedes. He was going to be there. And it was Orlando Cespedes Bobblehead Day. Yeah. And so in order to get your bobblehead, you had to go get in line and you get to watch Lucha Libre because these bobbleheads, as you can see from behind you, are huge collectors and people get them and they get in long lines and so on. So they get to watch Lucha, and Cespedes was not allowed to go nowhere near the ring. Like that was the agreement between A's and their marketing. He could only go as far as like so many feet because they don't want to have an issue like he gets hurt, and lo and behold, yet again, he gets hurt in my ring, and now I have Tito Fuentes almost dying, and I got Cespedes blowing a hammy. Yeah. And so we're in there. I'm like, yeah, no problem. He can do whatever we want. And they go, but there's one thing we have to be very clear on. I was like, okay, what did you have in mind? There is a little bit of a pushback from the A's wanting to do this with you. I was like, okay, what did I Did I say something wrong? Is it the comment about the trophy? I'm like, what did I do? They said, well, a few years back, our mascot got hurt in your ring.
Wow. Oh, no.
I was like, who booked this? Like, who's booking this? Like, I looked around. I said, look, let me explain to you. I told your mascot and all of them, all the mascots, the Giants, all of them that showed up, do not go on the ropes. And your mascot literally ran up and did it. They said, yeah, he did mention to us that did happen, and we just want to make sure it doesn't happen again because now we have a new mascot. I'm like, okay, new mascot. So we did a show with the A's. We did 3, and the last one we did was actually in the main quad, brother, where like I can send you pictures, like second deck of the outside of the Coliseum. Mm-hmm. You got fans. You have these banners say "Rooted in Oakland." It was packed, and I was able to finagle to get the new mascot to actually have a match. So we had Stomper actually have a match and clothesline, and he did his Hulk Hogan ear and did stuff, and I got to, do it all over again. Got to live wrestling and lucha together. It wasn't obviously with my my heart in the Giants, but this is still baseball. Yeah. This is still Major League Baseball, and you got like radio stations and everyone that markets these things going, hey, who did this? Like, I want to bring them to my town or to my show or to my things, and I'm just passing out cards and introducing myself. But it's funny because when you work with the A's and Giants, instead of myself introducing who I am, they're now telling me who they are, because now they want to bring me over to them, which opened doors to start doing also minor league baseball. And then we first started doing stuff with the Visalia Rawhide, which was just awesome because this actually got to put the ring on the baseball field. And that was just, that was insane.
Yeah.
That was so cool to be inside the stadium, to see like Visalia Rawhide is also used to be something with the Twins. So you actually see like a Kirby Puckett,
right.
icon over there. And you're like, what? This is insane. Kirby Puckett was here. And oh my God. And then our locker room was their locker room. Mm-hmm. And so we're in there and you got, it's minor league baseball locker room, brother. They got all their their clothes, and the couches, the fridge, bats, helmets, and you have young indie kids going, oh, this is great, man. There's no soda here, whatever. And I'm like, shut up, man. You're in a locker room. Take this in, man.
Yeah.
You don't know how many more times it's going to happen. Yeah. And obviously now with COVID, we're not, the show that we're going to do this year is pretty much canceled, and moving forward, who knows what's in store for us. But the stuff we had for them, with them this year is not going to happen again for God knows how long. But then that also catapulted us to do stuff with the Tri-City Dust Devils. And with the cool thing about working with minor league baseball, we impressed the right people. And the marketing person that day goes, hey, you guys did a great job. These fans are like not leaving. They're asking for autographs, and you guys are staying. You guys are cool. She's like, would you be interested in being part of the MILB marketing Rolodex? I'm like, what's that? Basically, they put me out. And so all minor league baseball, when they want to do different kind of special attractions, for marketing wise, Lucha Libre would come up and my name would populate. And I said, absolutely. And right away, within a couple of weeks, I had calls from Modesto, the Modesto Nuts.
Yes.
Rancho Cucamonga. And Rancho Cucamonga did not go through because they figured it was in the middle of nowhere, which it is. And so they changed it over, and I got a call from the Tri-City Dust Devils up in Washington. And there we went, man. We went out to Washington and did another show on the baseball field. Cold, windy, but you still got to do Lucha Libre at a baseball stadium, man. And you got fans out there. Again, we're in locker rooms. The Gorilla was the dugout. Yeah. So we got to sit in the dugout, and it's just everything you can possibly think of being combined at once, man. So I did Major League Baseball with the A's and Giants. Now I did minor league baseball with the Tri-City Dust Devils and the Visalia Rawhide. And for me, it's like, oh man, what's next? Like how can I continue to combine these two passions that I have? And I think I was well on my way up until now, but it's something, if it never happens again and we stop right now and the career's over and so on, I got to have that special opportunity with the Giants, A's, and minor league baseball, and to combine a passion that I share with my family as well. So it's a win-win for me.
Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed, because I obviously this year it's been eliminated, but I've been traveling around a lot to the Major League Baseball stadiums, the minor league baseball stadiums on my tours, and one of the things that I noticed that minor league baseball is so family oriented. Yes. So it's. I would go to stadiums and there would be 7,000 to 10,000 fans because there was literally nothing to do in that city except for baseball. So to be there, it's like a built-in crowd. They just love any type of entertainment and just bringing it to a new crowd and something to get excited about. Nothing beats the beer batter, right? Okay, I have issue with the beer batter. I have issue with the beer batter. Why? The only thing that I want from the beer batter is there's macro beers and there's craft beers. So usually it's a macro beer that they'll give like dollar Budweisers if the beer batter strikes out. Correct. Right. I want them to put the craft breweries in there, the independent craft breweries, into the mix on the beer batter. That's all I ask. That'd be cool. That'd definitely be cool because that helps a lot of smaller businesses with our particular. Because I mean, a dollar Budweiser. I mean, if you were 21 only. $1 Budweiser. If you've had a real beer, I'm not saying Budweiser's not good, but I mean those
those sudsy things they give you for that free beer batter does not compare to what you're talking about. That would be cool, but I mean, I never seen a crowd go so crazy for a beer batter. I was like, when I first went to minor league baseball games, here comes your beer batter. Dun, dun. And I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. And when he strikes out, that place goes bonkers. Yeah. It is, and then right when he strikes out, everyone runs out to the beer lines, and great marketing. It ties, merchandise, food, and the fans and the baseball players, and nobody wants to be the guy who strikes out and you're being cheered by the home team, for striking out. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
And it usually cools off like a hot hitter, so they usually do it for like a hitter who is like hitting really off. Cools them
exactly.
off.
It's like they throw the mojo on them to cool off, and I guess it works because it's going on almost everywhere I see.
Yeah, and you were talking about the pandemic. It has limited live sports and spectators. How do you see the future of live events going forward with Pro Wrestling Revolution?
Man, I wish I had the perfect answer because I can't even get a straight answer from our world now on what we're going to do. Yeah. Literally this morning, I read an article how New Zealand is having full-fledged packed stadiums for their rugby games. Mm-hmm. And it's 100 days without one positive corona virus case, and they're back to life. And yet here I'm in California where people... Oh my God, people say it's my right to not wear a mask, and I think what's made the United States great, the freedom and rights and so on, it's going to be our dagger, which is now evident that, these people who feel privileged or feel it's their right or feel it's, left wing or it's politics, it's this, while we're trying to fight and figure out what's going on with our world, that the rest of the world has already gone back to normal.
Yeah.
And yet here we're still fighting each other, whether you like the president, whether you believe in science, whatever it is, the rest of the world figured it out. And so what made us to be the best country in the world, now we're laughed at and we're mocked at because we weren't able to put on a mask. Yeah. That's simple. Yeah. Entertainment wise, I wish I had an answer because let's say tomorrow, Monday morning, boom, the vaccine's here. Guess what? It only cures you at 57%. Mm-hmm. And you still have to wear a mask. Oh, I'm not getting that vaccine because, and now what? Now on my level, vaccine or no vaccine, what happens to fans at my shows? See, NBA can do it with no fans, and Major League Baseball can do it with no fans, and everybody else can do it with no fans when you have those millions of corporate dollars for television to keep you going. What keeps an independent alive? Yeah. Who's paying for the venue? Mm-hmm. It's not Budweiser. It's not a sponsor. You know what I mean? I have sponsors, but they're not going to pay for the venue. And who's paying for the marketing? I mean, the fans is what's paying for it. And for me on my end, what happens to fly-ins? Yes. What happens to visas? What happens to me bringing Hijo del Santo in or bringing in Psycho Clown or Blue Demon or Ultimo Dragon? Like, how's that work now? Is it possible? Am I able to? And if I do they still have visas? Are they being approved now? Are they no longer being approved? Like on my end, it affects me completely because I don't want to be that indie where you and I first started in doing shows for the sake of doing shows. Drawing 20 people, that's not doing a show for me. I've been very blessed to do bigger stuff, not because someone handed it to me, because that's what I want to do, brother. That's my passion. And so I have, big lights that I bought, and they go over the ring, and I spend money on marketing. I go out and I hustle, and I try to make this seem like the biggest show on earth, man. I want to be the circus. I want to give people the feeling that it gave me when my dad would take me to the circus, or you drive by and you're like, what? That's a circus. Yep. Are we going? Relax, we're going there. They're all week. We're going. Well, for me, I want people to get that feeling when you see my flyers or you hear a commercial or you see TV or something. Yeah. But how's that going to happen now when no fans can go? Or is it every other fan? Like right now, Japan has one fan, 2 seats, no fan. One fan, 2 seats, no. Well, that wouldn't work here. Yeah. My last show that we did in February, right before the pandemic shut us all down, I drew almost 1,500, brother.
Yeah.
You know, I had Psycho Clown, Tejano, Drago, Mariachi Loco, Papo Esco. I had all these great guys, you know, great packed and music and lights and smoke and sponsors and kids. How do I make that happen again?
Yeah.
You know, if the vaccine is not 100%, I mean, it's not like it's kryptonite and Superman, and once kryptonite goes away, Superman is back to normal.
Yeah.
You know, we are literally 6 months behind the rest of the world, and every day it gets worse. You know, now there's incorrect numbers to our governor in California. So what he was promoting could have been completely wrong the whole time. Yeah. So maybe we opened way too. I mean, it's almost like we're stuck in a really bad Alfred Hitchcock movie that we're just going in circles and over and over and over. And all we can see is the rest of the world from far away going, hey, guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I've been watching New Japan Pro Wrestling in Japan for some of the stuff that's been going on recently. And one of the interesting things that they're going to be doing, I think it's even starting tonight, is they've been encouraging fans to just clap, not to cheer. But now they're going to have they're going to have a smartphone that you can actually program in to cheer for you. So I'm just like, I mean, that is
Japan
thinking outside the box, so far ahead of us. And I was watching the DDT tournament that they're having right now too.
Yeah, and
they were sitting actually closer proximity than I expected as well. But like, we are so far away from that, and I think that it's gonna, like, when it's going into next year, you know, that's when people is gonna start hitting people. It's like, you know, come on, let's get it together.
It's gonna sound sad, because I feel like the only way we're going to succeed and move forward until it actually hits home. And I think that's going to happen during the holidays. Mm-hmm. Come Thanksgiving and Christmas, when all that money that keeps people alive, like Black Friday, and all that's done, and you can't really have these holidays like we used to, and no vaccine, and we're looking at a new year. Now you can't celebrate the new year, and all we're waiting for is a vaccine that the rest of the world is already functioning without. We are going to be so far behind that vaccine is not going to do anything for us. We're still going to be behind. And now New Zealand, who has 100 days as of today with no, I think 12 deaths. They had 12 deaths. 12?
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
We have thousands upon thousands in California alone. So when the vaccine comes out and someone like New Zealand gets the vaccine where they're already 100 days great, and hopefully, knock on wood for them, it keeps going and going and going, guess what? That vaccine's going to put them in like, oh, cool, man, we're good.
Yeah.
You guys aren't? No. I feel like you're that one underprivileged kid where you watch all your friends go to a field trip because they can afford it, and you feel like you can't, and you go, oh, you're not going with us? Oh, how come? Oh, well, I didn't want to put my mask on. You know what I mean? This is insane, man. This is insane. Yeah. We're supposed to be the leaders of the free world, and we're the furthest thing from it right now. And for someone like me, entertainment-wise, that's what's going to hurt the most. And in typical fashion, Mike, entertainment has always been the go-to during hardships. Yeah. Bob Hope. What was Bob Hope doing? What was he mostly known for?
Yeah.
Is the
USO tours.
The USO tours, the tours. You know what I mean? That's what they were known for. You know what I mean? WWE was doing stuff for the troops.
Right.
That's when you go to entertainment to relieve your mind of stress and what the bad things in the world's happening. Now we don't have that. We have nothing to do. All we have is social media to tell us how badly this world is, and someone telling you how much you're a troll for following that, and how good it is and how bad it is.
Yeah.
We're in a very bad situation, man.
Yeah,
very poor.
And even worse because Halloween and an election's coming up. So,
they kind of coincide. You know, I mean, I don't know who's really behind that mask. I mean, you don't even know what's going on.
Well, I joke this could be the scariest Halloween of all time. So, but like every business has to pivot, and your latest endeavor is luchamask.com. Which are masks, everyday masks that cover your nose and mouth that are the luchadors. So
Yeah.
it seems like a no-brainer to do this, but how exactly did it come about?
You know what? That's like one question I'm always asked, and then when I tell you the answer, they go, "That was it." I'm well, yeah, that was it. I had to go to Walmart, brother. I had to go get groceries, and I wasn't gonna let my wife go alone, and I wasn't gonna go alone. I'm scared. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and be a macho man. I'm scared. I said, "Let's go." And my mom had some of the over-the-ear ones, the little blue ones.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "Don't worry, mijo. I have masks." I'm like, "Okay." And I got my glass, and they fall off, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And they wouldn't stay on. So I'm like doing my best to keep it on. And we're in the grocery line, and the person in front of me didn't have a mask, and I'm flustered and making sure she doesn't cough near me. And I whispered to Shannon, my wife, I said, "It'd be cool, man." I said, "We should just wear lucha masks, like our whole freaking mask, Might as well freaking wear that over this little stupid little thing." She goes, "It's the same thing, no?" I'm like, "What do you mean the same?" And she goes, "Well, let's just wear it, I was like, "You know what? I should just make them." And she goes, "Well, why don't you?"
Wow.
I was like, my brain was elsewhere. But I got home and it stuck with me. I was like, can we? And I started thinking. So the guy who makes all our gear for Revolution, his name is Francisco. And I said, "Hey, brother," I said, "Remember those masks you just made for my guys? We had a show in February, so all the gear, as a worker, you want your new stuff for that big show. We had sent all the new outfits and new masks and so on." I said, "Hey, brother, can you take their mask and put them over a PPE mask? Because we talking about." I go, look, this." He goes, "I don't see why not. It's the same thing." I said, "Well, how would you do the stuff over? I don't want over the ears. I hate that." He goes, "No, in Mexico we have ones that go over your head and your neck. You can adjust. Can you just make me one? Let me see what it looks like." And he did it, and he sent me an image. No, shocked, absolutely shocked. What came to us, and that was the start of lucha-mask.com.
So, Gabe, you have totally pivot in this time of pandemic to do this, and it's really, really super impressive. Are you looking to expand it? I know you're working with Mass Republic, but it's basically you that's going to expand this and produce more, right?
Working with Mass Republic is huge because, being that I was a promoter, I didn't really pay attention too much to licensing and any of that. To me, it's I book talent. What's the talent looking for? What's hot? What's new? I promote it. When I went into, I guess, merchandise, I was like, "Hey, you know what?" I go, "Hey, Kevin, do you think Penta and Phoenix would be into this?" He goes, "Well, yeah, we own their rights for licensing for merchandise. Let me ask." And I never knew how in depth that was. And now that I know, I have so much respect because I don't bootleg, for one. And the reason I don't, and I'll be very clear and upfront with you. As a promoter, if I'm booking Disco Machine, right? And Disco Machine's a mass wrestler, and I'm bootlegging all your content, and I'm keeping all the money, and this whole pandemic's over, and I come back to you, go, "Hey, brother, I'm gonna book you for your show." How are you going to handle that with me?
Right.
You're going to be like, "Well, funny you called me now for a booking, but weren't you bootlegging all my masks and stuff?" Because we all sell those little kid masks on our merch tables. That's not bootlegging. It's a different world. Yeah. But right now, in a situation where no wrestler is not making a penny.
Yeah.
Well, so what I'm doing is every mask that I do on our website, the wrestler is getting a kickback. All of them. Hijo del Santo, LA Park, everyone you see on there gets it. I have one better. In my work with Cain Velasquez, for those who know who he is or are familiar with his work, he did a little bit of work in AAA as a mask wrestler, right? Well, we have that mask. We're doing the COVID mask for him as well, but 100% of the profits from that is going to Second Harvest of Silicon Valley here. And we just recently donated close to $3,000, a little under roughly. But that same day I donated, Mike, it was being matched 3 times the amount. So by the time I did it, we have we donated over 16,000 meals to the food bank.
Oh, wow.
From these masks. So I didn't want to be the one that got looked upon and going, oh, that guy took advantage of a bad situation. That's awful. How can he? No. I'm doing the complete opposite. Everyone that I work with is making money. And whether it be $1 or 1,000, that's more than you had to start with. And right now we're entertainment business. As you know, it's at a standstill at our level. Any money that you can get to help back to keep this business alive and stay relevant. Because right now, the most important thing is to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Yes, LA Park and Hijo del Santo will live forever. But what about those indie guys who are not going to be working for maybe a year or two?
Yeah.
What happens then? But if you have a popular mask, or even if it's not a popular mask, I make a mask. Brother, we're doing masks for Steve Carino as Mr. Wrestling 3.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw that.
You know what I mean? So it's just not lucha. I'm doing all over stuff. I'm LA Park. There's talks of Steve Carino now, us working something with Monster C from Hustle. Mm-hmm. We're doing Sasuke. We're doing Dragon Lee, which is announced working with Rush. I'm trying to open as many doors as I can. And then working with Kevin Kleinrock, which you and I both know. Yeah. Kevin, to me, is a huge inspiration, not only 100%. As a business person, but as a father. And so working with him, man, I've always been close to him, but now that we both are in the merchandise, world, we talk daily. And that's one thing I take as a plus to being able to be closer to him and talk to him, because those who do have the honor to work with Kevin and know him, he's such an awesome person, and it's always something new that I get to learn with him. And as far as expanding, I want to, but in my mind, Michael, brother, I really want to just focus on promoting, because I feel that the more I get emotional. Remember with me. I feel that if I continue to do this, I'm no longer going to be able to do wrestling.
Yeah,
and I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, I said a lot of times, like it was, if somebody took graphic design away from me, like I wouldn't know what to do. There's nothing. I put all my eggs into the graphic design basket, and so if that were taken away from me, I don't know what I would turn into. But I would have to pivot, but it might take me a long time, and I don't know where to start. So and then you're also creating a foundation that people can come back to. So you're talking about those indie wrestlers before, like what business are they going to have in 5-10 years? Depends on what you do right now.
Exactly. And one thing that Kevin always reminds me, he goes, don't think this is only for today or tomorrow. He goes, we're going to be wearing these masks for a while to come. Yeah. And if, all wrestling fans, or all sporting fans, if you watch Japan as an example, from baseball to, especially wrestling for us, which we still watch it a lot. If you go back on, any year, go on YouTube, pick any random year, All Japan, New Japan, you're going to see those masks in 1985, 82, 77. Yeah. They were wearing those masks, not because not because there was an outbreak, a pandemic, out of common courtesy that I have a cold and I'm not going to give you that cold. Yeah. And I never understood that. For me, I was like, oh, how come they don't have a mask on? That's weird. Yeah. My exposure here in the States to mask was when SARS first came out, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, SARS, and wearing masks and so on. One of my referees, his name is Alex Chang. He wore a mask like 3 years ago. He came to class with a mask on. I was like, why do you have a mask on? Like, are you sick? He goes, oh, I have a little of a cold. I was like, why are you wearing a mask? He goes, oh, because in our culture, it's respect to you.
Right.
And it just shows how the thought process that we have here is so different from around the world. So for me, hopefully I can continue to do this, continue to keep my academy open, and continue to do events, and eventually do this full time, because unfortunately I still have a 9-to-5. I still do graphic design for somebody else, to pay the bills. Yeah. I love it. I love graphic design. It's, you get to make people ideas come to life on canvas. But my ultimate goal is to do this for myself, for my family, and teach my daughters that you don't have to work for somebody else. You got to if you believe in something and you work hard at it, it's going to happen. It will happen.
Absolutely. And working, you basically work so you can keep your passions alive. And,
right.
And so I'm fully on board with that. So I know what that feels like. I've been doing it
What's
for
that?
all my
What's
life.
that saying, Mike? You work 9 to 5 to pay the bills, and you work at night to build your dynasty.
Wow. I love that. I've never heard that. I'm definitely going to use that. That's fantastic.
I use that a lot. It's like I work 9 to 5 to pay the bills, but at night I work to build my dynasty. Yep. That's what I foresee for myself.
Yeah. And another one that I like was that there's many demons that keep me up at night, but hard work isn't one of them.
No, oh, that's right. Except unless you know Blue Demon, and then he'll he'll definitely keep you up at night. No, man, it's so great to be able to talk to you, bro. Seriously, especially when when especially in this wrestling world, when you're out of that loop, you pretty much lose a lot of friendships because they're not in that loop. And I don't mean lose as in like not being friends anymore, but when you're caught in that wrestling world loop, that's who you talk to. You know what I mean? And when we were booking each other and I was bringing you in, hey, Mike, what's going on? What's going on? And are you doing this? Oh, I saw your design here. But then when you're out of that circle, I know Mike, but where's Mike been? And then I see you're doing this stuff here, and I'm like, this guy, man, like your graphic design and the fact that you got baseball going. And we always have baseball talks, especially when your beloved team happens to match up with mine in the playoffs, and we go at it back and forth. And, you always call me out for being a pessimist, because that was me, man. We lose game 1, it's over. Congratulations, Mike. You guys did it. We lost. You're like, brother, it's game 1. I don't care.
Yeah. You still got 2 to lose.
We say, oh, no, man, you guys did it. You guys did it. But, I mean, it's we live in a very interesting world. And, like everything else, man, we have to take advantage of how to make the good out of a worse situation and roll with it and only hope for the best.
100%. So I'm going to wrap up with this. It's one of the final questions I throw to people, and I'm going to give you 2 beers. The beers are, it's either a 16-ounce Budweiser Chelada or a 2-seam IPA from Strike Brewing in San Jose, California.
Okay. See, that's rough. Now, Chelada at one point was one of my sponsors for the shows we were doing in Salinas and Watsonville. But this beer from San Jose, I know who they are because at one point I was meeting with the San Jose Giants to do a show with them, and I saw them next to the garlic fries, and I saw their logo, and it's called 2-seam, right?
2-seam IPA.
Yeah, 2-seam IPA, and I was like, oh, that's a cool logo. It makes sense. How cool for baseball, right? I tell you what, being from San Jose and being a small startup, I think nothing more than I'd rather have that 2-seam IPA because I know it's going to taste better, and I know more passion went into making it than a huge corporation that is not going to lose much if I don't drink it. So for me, 2-seam IPA, 100%.
Right on. And I know you're not a huge beer fan, but to support a San Jose business,
you have to. You have to, hopefully 2-seam IPA, returns a favor and supports us.
Yeah.
Whenever we do a festival or beer garden, whatever, man. But I mean, right now, it's the most important time, Mike, to actually support small businesses right now. So by all means, man, I think Budweiser will be okay, but I think San Jose right now needs that love. So 2-seam IPA, 100%, man. I kompai.
That's it. Kampai. Cheers. Anush, if for those Armenians out there.
Salud.
Salud. So, Gabe, this has been a tremendous discussion. We've gone over an hour. But where can we find you on social media and other places?
Social media across the board at PW Revolution. And then our newest, like we talked about, our newest project is Lucha Masks. Well, actually, it's Lucha-masks.com, masks.com, and you can find all my social media there as well. So you can find us from social media, from Instagram, IG, to Facebook, to Twitter, to YouTube, all that. They're all linked. We're all together. You can always reach out for any questions about masks, about wrestling, stories, anything. You can always catch our stuff. And then we also have our academy. So it's a Pro Wrestling Revolution Training Academy. So once we get back to normal and we're able to do this full steam ahead, we also have a training, school here in San Jose where we've had trainers like Lady Apache, Skyday, Super Crazy. We have Robert Thompson who leads the charge there. So, I'm full-fledged 100% in this, brother. I've been doing this since 1996 and I haven't stopped. And, I feel like I'm barely starting to see the fruits of my labor, Yeah. So, and I still have a long way to go. So I'm only taking this pandemic as a small speed bump, take the year off, recharge those batteries, and hopefully next year we can hit that ground, hit the ground running.
Well, I look for this to be over because I want to come up and see one of your shows again. I look forward to that. You guys always put on tremendous shows. You have tremendous professional athletes that you're even cultivating, the ones that we haven't even seen yet.
Only if you dust off those boots, brother. You got to bring that back.
Oh,
one more time, brother. You got to bring it back one more. Just even come out and just do. Your fans are missing out, guys. For those who don't know, look up Disco Machine. This guy was awesome. He did Japan. He did it all. He's more than a graphic designer, guys. He was a great worker. Look him up. Trust me, you can't go wrong.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And my mask actually doesn't have a mouth protection. So
we can do it. If you're interested, let me get to it. Let me get some designs out. You're a graphic designer. Put something out. Go for it. And before I forget, I don't know when this is going to air, but we're actually doing a fan art of creating your own fan created mask at lucha-mask.com. And we're going to choose one by midnight tonight. And then the winner will get voted on by fans. And whoever gets nominated by fans as a winner, we will create that mask for you, sell it online, and give you a kickback of all the money made for that mask. So that's open to everyone, fans, wrestlers, as many designers as you want. So maybe we can get a Disco Machine one created kind of fast, and let's see, you never know.
That's amazing. Well, thank you, Gabe, so much.
Thank you.
We will not see you at the wrestling arena. We will not see you at the brewery. We won't see you at the stadium. But we will. You can actually see us live on Tuesdays, the Beer Baseball Blogcast with Angelo Trinidad and Taro, who you know very well.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we do a weekly thing. So see us there. This is Gabe Ramirez, and thank you so much for joining me, and good luck to you.
Thank you, brother.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Be safe.